Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're shaking things up a bit. Instead of jumping between different sources, we're going all in on a single fictional novel called Forced to Forget.
Sounds intriguing. What's the premise?
Imagine, right, you're going about your life, and then, bam! You suddenly remember all your past lives, the loves, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, all triggered by a near-death experience. Intense, right?
Definitely not your typical Tuesday.
No kidding. And that's what makes Forced to Forget so captivating. It's not your typical time travel story.
So it's not about changing the past or hopping through wormholes.
Nope. This one's about the emotional fallout. It digs deep into what happens when those past lives come rushing back, how they shape who you are now, the relationships you have.
That's a really interesting take on the whole past lives concept. It's less about the mechanics of time travel and more about the psychological and emotional impact.
Exactly. And the forgetting event itself is pretty dramatic. Think car crash, near fatal, involving some of the main characters, Bex, Daniel, and his daughter Amy.
Okay, so this accident shatters the barrier that's keeping their past lives hidden.
Right. It's like this catalyst that throws everything into chaos. Suddenly they're wrestling with memories and feelings that feel both alien and familiar.
I bet that makes for some seriously complicated relationships.
Oh, you have no idea. Take Bex and Daniel, for example. They were madly in love in a past life.
Soulmates, maybe?
Perhaps. But in their current lives,
Hmm.
total strangers practically. So there they are, suddenly flooded with all this intense love and connection for someone they barely know. Talk about awkward.
It makes you wonder, though, if soulmate connections really can transcend lifetimes. Is it karma, destiny, or some kind of spiritual bond that just keeps drawing certain people together?
Right. If you suddenly remembered a past life where you were head over heels for someone you barely recognize now, how would you even begin to process that?
And it's not like these characters are living in a vacuum. They're already tangled up in complex relationships in their present lives, which just adds another layer of crazy to the mix.
Oh, absolutely. It's a recipe for some serious drama. Like we've also got Lizzie and Charles. They were married in a past life.
Okay, so now they're dealing with not just the memories of their past love, but also any past hurts and betrayals, trying to reconcile all of that while navigating their current lives, which are probably completely different.
It's like a giant knot of relationships spanning across multiple lifetimes, and everyone's trying to untangle it without completely losing their minds.
And all these tangled relationships really fuel the emotional core of the story, right? Like Bex, for example, she's independent, avoids commitment.
The classic commitment phobe.
Exactly. But this contrasts so sharply with that deep love she had with Daniel in their past life.
It makes you think about whether our personalities truly stay consistent across lifetimes, or if they're more shaped by the specific experiences we have in each one.
Fascinating question. And then we've got Daniel. He's a single dad now.
Dealing with a lot all at once, right?
Right. Not only is he trying to wrap his head around these reawakened feelings for Bex, but he's also hit with the bombshell that Amy
His daughter.
might not even be his biological daughter in this life.
Talk about a double whammy.
It really challenges those traditional ideas of family and what defines those bonds.
And it's not just identity that gets thrown into question. There's this whole theme of trust and forgiveness that runs throughout the novel.
Makes sense. I mean, imagine suddenly remembering past betrayals.
Right. Like Bex. Her fear of commitment stems directly from those past relationships where her trust was broken. And then there's Daniel.
Carrying the weight of Helen's infidelity in their past life.
Exactly. It's heavy stuff. So the novel really makes you think about whether it's even possible to truly let go of past hurts.
Especially when those hurts feel so vivid and immediate, like they're happening all over again. Does forgiveness mean forgetting? Or can we somehow find a way to integrate those painful memories into our present lives?
Big questions for sure.
But you know what I find interesting? Amid all this emotional baggage and drama,
The novel still manages to sprinkle in some humor and lightheartedness, which is so important.
totally, like that scene where Matt, Lizzie, and Bex are decorating Charles's car with Team Charles stickers.
After he wins a court case, right?
Yes, it's just this burst of fun amidst all the heavier stuff.
It's a good reminder that even when life throws those curveballs, past or present,
Yeah,
sometimes you just need a good laugh with your friends.
absolutely. And speaking of curveballs, Forced to Forget has its fair share of secrets and revelations that keep you guessing.
Oh yeah, they just keep popping up. Things you think are insignificant end up having huge consequences later on.
And those slowly unfolding secrets really impact the characters' relationships and how they see themselves, like that mysterious Irene Copperton character.
The one from the film premiere. She seemed a little too interested in Amy, didn't she?
That brief appearance might seem small, but it plants this seed of doubt that becomes really important later on. It's like the author's subtly foreshadowing what's to come.
So we've got Irene, Sam's true intentions.
And of course, Bex and Daniel, who are dancing around each other. So much unspoken tension.
Right, it's like they're on this collision course, deeply in love, but being pulled apart by all these past hurts and misunderstandings.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But before we dive into those twists and turns.
Let's take a closer look at that pivotal New Year's Eve party, where Bex and Daniel's paths truly collide for the first time since the accident.
Where the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife.
So that New Year's Eve party, talk about an emotional minefield.
Right. It's like throwing a match into a powder keg. Bex and Daniel are already grappling with all those resurfacing emotions.
And then you add in Daniel's whole paternity crisis.
It's like a rug being pulled out from under him. Suddenly, the life he thought he had, the family he thought was his, it's all thrown into question.
And how does he handle all that?
Well, that's what makes this part of the story so interesting. The novel explores how men and women often deal with these really intense emotions differently. Daniel, he's conditioned to be strong, stoic, you know.
The classic man-up mentality.
Yeah, that's the one. So he ends up bottling everything up.
Which never ends well, right?
No, it just creates more distance and misunderstanding, especially with Bex.
She's trying to connect with him, be vulnerable, but he's shutting down.
Exactly. And Bex, being Bex, decides to take matters into her own hands.
So what does she do?
She pours all her feelings, all those unspoken words, into a letter she writes to Daniel.
What's in the letter?
Oh, it's everything she wishes she could say to him face to face. All the hurt, the confusion, but also...
The love.
Yep. She ends it with those 3 little words that carry so much weight. I love you.
So she's finally putting it all out there.
She is. But as fate would have it, she never gets the chance to give him the letter.
Talk about bad timing.
Right. And as if that wasn't bad enough, Daniel, influenced by Sam's lies and his own insecurities.
He ends up pushing Bex away.
Yep. He convinces himself that she's moved on, that he's not worthy of her love.
Heartbreaking. Especially knowing how much Bex is already struggling with her past hurts. It's like she takes 1 step forward and then gets knocked back 2 steps.
It's definitely a low point for their relationship, but this is where those themes of family and support systems really come into play. Bex leans on her brothers, Jason and Kyle.
They're her rocks, right?
They are. They offer that unconditional love and support that she desperately needs at that moment. They remind her of her worth, even when she's doubting herself.
Which is so important. It's like they're helping her rebuild her foundation after it's been shaken.
And Daniel, while grappling with all the uncertainty about Amy...
He finds solace in their relationship, right?
Right. It shows how powerful that parental bond can be, whether it's based on blood or not.
It's a reminder that love can take many forms and that those connections can sustain us through the darkest of times.
Exactly. And the novel doesn't just focus on romantic love and family. It also explores the complexities of friendship.
Bex and Matt, right?
Yep. He's that classic bachelor figure who encourages Bex to be true to herself.
And not settle, which is something she definitely struggles with.
Right. Their friendship is important because it provides a safe space for Bex. She can be vulnerable with Matt without fear of judgment.
And he calls her out when she needs it.
Exactly. It's a dynamic that challenges her to grow and evolve.
Which is what true friends do, right? They push us to be our best selves.
Absolutely. And, you know, speaking of challenges, remember that mysterious Irene Copperton from the film premiere?
The one who seemed a little too interested in Amy. What was that all about?
Well, that seemingly insignificant encounter ends up having huge ramifications later on. It's like the author's dropping a breadcrumb, leading us down a path of mystery.
So we've got Irene lurking in the background, Sam's true intentions still a mystery, Bex and Daniel on this emotional roller coaster.
And then, to top it all off, the legal battle for custody of Amy heats up.
The stakes are getting higher.
Absolutely. The courtroom scenes are intense.
Bex is trying to move on, even goes on a date with Tyler, that smoothie guy.
But deep down, we all know she's not over Daniel.
No way. He's still very much in the picture, at least in her heart.
And that's where the time travel element really shines through, I think. It's not just about remembering past events. It's about how those past lives continue to influence their desires and choices.
They're literally haunted by their past selves.
In a way, yes. They're being forced to confront those echoes of who they once were. It makes you wonder if maybe we all have those echoes within us, shaping our actions in ways we don't even realize.
Whoa, that's deep.
I know, right? And it's through those confrontations, both with their past selves and with each other, that Bex and Daniel start to recognize those patterns, those fears that hold them back.
It's like they're finally starting to understand themselves better.
Exactly. But healing is a journey, not a destination. There are setbacks, misunderstandings, and sometimes things get worse before they get better.
And that's exactly what happens, right? Daniel, fueled by Sam's lies, accuses Bex of being unfaithful.
It's a painful scene. He's projecting his past hurt onto her, repeating those patterns from his previous life with Helen.
And Bex, hurt and angry, tears up the letter where she confessed her love. Talk about a symbol of their broken communication.
Right. It's a reminder that words have power and that clear communication is crucial in any relationship, but especially when dealing with this level of emotional intensity.
So what happens next? How do they pick up the pieces after that?
Well, amidst all this darkness, there are glimmers of hope. We see how strong Bex's bond is with her brothers.
They really step up for her.
They do. They offer that unwavering support, reminding her that she's loved and valued no matter what.
And Daniel, despite the possibility that Amy might not be his biologically, his love for her never wavers.
It's a beautiful testament to the different forms love can take. And it's those connections, those lifelines of love and support that pave the way for healing.
And eventually, reconciliation.
We'll have to wait and see. But the journey's far from over.
Buckle up, listener. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll witness the climax of that custody battle, uncover the truth about Sam's motives,
And see if Bex and Daniel can finally overcome their past to embrace a future together.
All right, we're back and diving right back into the thick of it. That custody battle for Amy. Things are getting pretty intense.
Yeah, no kidding. Sam's really turning up the heat on Daniel.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like he's using Daniel's past with Helen against him.
He is. It's a classic manipulation tactic.
You know, trying to paint him as this unstable, unfit father.
Right. Preying on Daniel's vulnerability, making him question his own sanity, his ability to be a good dad to Amy.
It's really messed up.
Oh, for sure. And the author does a great job of showing how insidious this kind of manipulation can be.
Especially because Daniel is carrying so much guilt and trauma from that past relationship.
Exactly. It's like Sam's weaponizing his history against him.
But, you know, even in the midst of all this courtroom drama, we see how strong Daniel's support system is.
Oh, yeah. His family and friends, they really rally around him.
They're not letting him fight this alone.
Nope. They're there for him emotionally, practically. Like Lizzie, she's a force to be reckoned with.
She doesn't hold back, does she?
Not at all. She sees right through Sam's lies, and she's not afraid to call him out on them. It's a powerful example of those sibling bonds.
Absolutely. And Bex, even though she and Daniel are on shaky ground, she steps up too, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. And I think that's a really important turning point. It shows that she recognizes what a good man Daniel is.
And that she sees through Sam's facade.
Right. And you know what's interesting? Bex, just by chance, remembers something that ends up completely changing the course of the trial.
Wait, what is it? Remind me.
Remember Ryan, Matt's old roommate, the one who
Okay.
treated Lottie terribly?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it turns out that Sam is friends with him.
What? No way.
Yep. And Bex remembers seeing Sam at her flat picking up some of Ryan's stuff.
So she connects Sam to a known abuser.
Exactly. And it totally throws his character into question.
Talk about a game changer. I mean, it's a small detail that ends up having huge consequences.
It is. It's a brilliant example of how the author uses foreshadowing. We get this seemingly insignificant moment early on, and then bam, it comes back in a major way.
And it all leads to this moment of truth in the courtroom.
Oh, yeah. The judge sees through Sam's lies, grants Daniel full custody of Amy.
So Daniel wins. That's got to be a relief.
Oh, yeah. Huge relief for him and his family. It's a victory, for sure. But it takes a toll on him. I mean, you can see how emotionally drained he is.
Makes sense. He's been through the ringer.
For sure. And it makes Bex see him in a new light. She sees his strength, his love for Amy,
It's like all the walls she's built up around her heart start to crumble
and she realizes that she can't keep running from her feelings.
because she really is in love with him.
She is.
Okay, so where do they go from here? How does this all resolve?
Well, the story culminates at Lizzie and Charles's wedding. Talk about symbolic, right?
Totally. Celebrating love and commitment. A fresh start. It's a stark contrast to all the turmoil that Bex and Daniel have been through.
And amidst all the wedding festivities, Bex decides to take a chance. She finds Daniel alone, and she confesses her love.
She finally tells him how she feels. About time.
It's a powerful scene, full of raw emotion, honesty. She doesn't hold anything back. She tells him about her fears, her insecurities, but also how deeply she loves him.
And how does Daniel react?
He tells her he loves her too.
So, they finally get their happy ending.
Well, the novel ends on a hopeful note, but it's not all sunshine and roses. They've got baggage to work through, past hurts to heal.
And they know it's going to take work, effort, communication.
Exactly. They're choosing to face those challenges together.
Because they love each other.
Because they love each other, and because they believe in second chances.
So Forced to Forget is more than just a love story. It's about those big questions, right?
Oh, absolutely. It makes us think about the impact of our past experiences, the power of memory, about forgiveness and second chances, and what it truly means to love and be loved.
It really makes you wonder, if you were suddenly confronted with memories from a past life, how would you react? Would you embrace them? Or would you try to bury them?
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Forced to Forget, listener. We hope you enjoyed the journey. It's a novel that stays with you long after you finish the last page.
And if you're looking for a read that will make you think, make you feel, and maybe even make you question everything you thought you knew about love, time, and memory, we highly recommend checking it out.
And if you've already read it, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Head over to our social media channels and join the conversation. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.